Attention, for the press corps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you the latest news from the Siva Valley conflict. Here in the 96th conflict of the Foxhole War, it is day 33, and we are joined by PressCorps Colonial correspondent Draccos, who is live at the front lines in Farranac Coast, just outside of Jade Cove, as the fighting continues on, rages on there. Now, Draccos, I know that the Warden push that broke Husk Hollow, broke the Colonial position at Husk Hollow, a massive fight. The Colonials had a sterling defense, and the Wardens just fierce forward offensive there, mirrored with the maneuvers that took Jade Cove, and now it's a fight for this ramp, this reported Jade Cove ramp. Can you describe the intensity of what is happening out there right now?
It's no doubt, without a doubt, Geoffrey. It's level 100. It's going crazy out here. You can hear the noise in the background. We got a couple of FMGs up here that are literally just nonstop rocking. It's crazy infantry, both sides trying to flank the enemy. They're defending stuff, building stuff. There's just a lot going on here right now, and it's awesome.
Awesome indeed. The awesome power of those FMGs. I'm hearing more than one. Did you mention how many there were?
If I were to give you an exact number, there's two of them right here in front of me.
You can hear that clearly. Definitely more than one FMG. And what are they firing at? What are those Colonial FMGs firing at?
I want to stay on the other side. I can't see for sure and confirm, but looking by the gunfire that's coming back, it looks like there's two enemy FMGs on the other side as well. The Wardens are matching the Colonial armor here equal, and the infantry is about the same as well. The bunker network over here is really complex, so it's really making it hard on the newer players, it looks like, to be able to navigate when they don't know how necessarily to get through barbed wire or jump over trenches and such like that. But other than that, it's an equal battle in terms of the armor up here. It looks like two FMGs on two FMGs, and they're just going face down right in the streets here while a bunch of infantry just mammon rush the defenses here on both sides pretty much. And that's the rundown right there.
Would you call this bunker city dense?
Not as dense if I've seen it before, especially when it gets tier 3 and they're really going crazy with stuff. But right now, for day, like 1.5 of the war, pretty much, or excuse me, I'm sorry, we're going with the day 5, excuse me. Or is that's not even real time either. Day 35 of the Farranac Coast War here.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm trying to look at the notes here. But yeah, this is a lot for the early amount of time it's taken for this amount of stuff to come up here to be able to make this. The amount of progress that's made here is pretty incredible, actually. Got to give it some strength.
Looking at the situation here on the map, just looking at it macro, the Colonials were pushed out of Jade Cove some days ago, but it looks like they managed to recover, at least stop the bleeding into the southern thirds of Farranac. Do you think in the next several days, war days, do you think it's safe to say that the Colonials will hold by your judgment?
I can safely say that the hold will happen, but if it's going to happen, they're only going to hold so much here. If they lose anything, it's not going to be much. They're only going to be pushed back slightly because the manpower here is pretty intense. The Colonials have a lot of men here. I can safely say there are a few regiment guys here. There's a lot of new players, don't get me wrong, but there are some veterans in here in the mix that are trying to lead the way here. So I could say, to answer you, it's possible. It's possible for them to potentially push back even and maybe even try to get in the front door of Jade Cove and try to take it back. It just really depends on what happens overnight in terms of which side is going to stay up and play all night. Like in real life, like whichever side is going to stay up and put in the hours and time. I feel like that whenever the off time goes for whichever side, it gives the other side an advantage. But right now, over here, it looks like neither side is backing down. It's going to be an all-night battle, and it's really hard to say which side will take any amount of land back and forth right now. So, back to you.
Astute observations. According to foxholestats.com, Farranac Coast is once again the deadliest region as of the current moment. Total of 59,000 confirmed dead combined. Maybe it's the deadliest region in terms of body count. Other regions are a little hotter right now, but in terms of what has taken the cake in terms of those, highest, those deadliest regions, Farranac Coast maintaining that. There were some thoughts that, okay, once the Husk Hollow fight ended, is it going to calm down? No, the Jade Cove fight happened, and that is such an intense bottleneck, as we can hear clearly right there. The fighting is continuing rapidly. I'm hearing some explosions.
Yeah, if I may go ahead and report on that. We have a third FMG that just showed up. The Colonials have three
Colonial
FMGs
FMG
up here now, and they are getting seriously heavily grenaded. I think those mammoths, they're not mammoths. They might be. I think it was mammoths. They just got rushed. Kind of held. The three of them are still here. They were probably needing some repair, I imagine, but they're holding together. Everybody here looks like they're tight. We got 3 FMGs clogging the road now, and that's right here, bottlenecked right here in between Jade Cove and Cleveland Wharf currently.
Now, we cannot disclose far back supply lines or the location of bunker bases, but I think it's safe to say both sides are so focused in on this bottleneck that the supply is not going to be too much of an issue in terms of getting it to the front line quickly. In terms of emergency repairs, in terms of emergency medical supplies, emergency ammunition, just kind of supplying that front line. It's pretty much ready and roaring to go, but we'll see how that plays out in terms of the back line.
Absolutely. Right here in front of Jade Cove right now, from the Colonial reporter side of the PressCorps, part of the Foxhole War, Draccos here reporting from the field. Did you have any other questions for me, Geoffrey?
Say again, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, if I didn't come through clear there, I was saying, did you have any other questions for me, or would you like me to get deeper in the action here? Do you guys want to go further with this? Or
you know what? Go for it. Go deeper into the action, and right. Let's see what happens here.
Absolutely. I have no problem with that. I'm usually, even when I'm not playing in the press credentials, really deep in the action, and now I am. Doesn't matter. This is how you should play the game. I'll tell the folks at home, always get up front, get in the action once in a while. If you do Logi all day, you'll get bored with it. You'll get burnt out. Don't do that to yourself. Get up here, check out some of this frontline juicy action. It's really juicy right now. Let me get out of the way here. I'm like, excuse me, I'm getting in the way of these guys here, and I need to move. But yeah, 3 FMGs. They are coordinating really well. The infantry is thickening up all around both sides of them, so their flanks are really well covered. Over on the other side, same thing. Between is an absolute battlefield just riddled. I could probably count out more than 100 backpacks just laying all over the place. Bodies everywhere, just absolute carnage all over the place. If infantry ever thought that they could jump up in front of this many bullets, they're just not using their heads. It's just, you don't want to run into that much gunfire. Back and forth between the two armies right now, there's so many bullets flying. The infantry literally has to hunker down behind the FMGs on both sides because both sides' FMGs are just providing so much gunfire. Like 3 guns shooting on both sides at the same time. It's literally, you can hear it yourself. It's crazy. So.
Now, in terms of the Warden firepower, how many FMGs are squaring off against these 3 Collie ones?
It looks like the exact same amount, 3 against 3 now. The Colonial side over here, because I'm reporting from this side, brought up 1 extra. And it looks like the Wardens saw that and were like, you know what, let's get another one up here too. And they did. So it's equal armor. It's equal amount of infantry now. And oh, excuse me, I have a medic that's pulling me away from the battlefield. It's going to sound a little different right now. I just got shot. I'm bleeding out. I'm sorry. This happens to us press reporters. Everybody listening out there, always remember, if you see a press reporter, please don't shoot us. We're just trying to give you guys the news, okay?
You can. It's just really not preferred.
Exactly. I mean,
there's nothing stopping you.
Does anybody really like
except our feelings.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Geoffrey.
No, that's fine. Just wanted to kind of break up the bullet hose, the sound of bullet hose, with notice that the PressCorps Weather Service has issued a severe storm advisory for the following regions, namely Terminus. We're still getting some information from our storm chasers. Again, all volunteer. A growing number of storm chasers but getting information that there may be other storm systems in the surrounding regions. But for now, we can confirm terminus. Rain is continuing to fall, and watchtower coverage is impacted. Be on the lookout for mud patches, which cause encumbrance on your person. Wind will have a stronger effect on the shells of fire support systems. There is a chance for the rainstorm to get worse or calm down to a more manageable level. Again, a severe storm advisory has been issued for terminus on the Able Shard. The PressCorps does exclusively focus on Able Shard, and that is not to belittle Baker and Charlie Shard, but simply because we only have so many manpower, infrastructure to be able to cover all the thousands of stories that happen in Foxhole every day. But back to you, Draccos, on the. It honestly doesn't sound like much has developed, as intense as it is.
It has, actually. Let me go ahead and break it. It has. Okay. I got to back up a little bit because I'm right in the line of fire, but the 3 FMGs over here have actually made a little bit of leanway. It's only a couple inches. Everybody knows in game it takes sometimes hours just to gain a couple inches of land, and they're actually pushing up a little bit right now, the Colonial side is, and it looks like the Wardens are being pushed back slightly. I think it's because mainly the FMGs are focusing fire on the trenches over here that are full of the Warden infantry. It's keeping them suppressed, it's keeping them down, it's giving the Colonial side an advantage where they're able to just get in there and get some extra stuff done. And so it's looking like, but it's dead even still. It's just such a tie right here. It's so hard to call. I don't want to call it a stalemate because definitely either side could pull a power move here at any time. If I were to give a roll call count here, there's at least 12 men, maybe 14, 15 men to my right. There's at least 30 men to my left. There is a lot of troops here. So in terms of body counts, there's no way that this Colonial front will back down in the face of these Wardens right now. It's equal powers, but man, just neither side is letting down. It's so... Oh, there's a Warden bicyclist. Oh, yeah, the bicycle. Oh, my God. One guy on a bicycle on the Warden side just tried to come in, and they got murder-villed. That was horrible, but that was awesome. Back to you, Geoffrey.
You know, in terms of the general fitness of troops out there, I think it's safe to say the average soldier is actually quite fit, considering how much people have to carry around on the battlefield. So this commitment to fitness when it comes to cycling, I am quite impressed by it. Now, was there any follow-up on that Warden cyclist charging straight at the FMGs?
He got absolutely murdered, and I think about 800 bullets hit him in the face at the same time, and it was embarrassing, but needless to say, his bicycle is still somehow in the road, bent up a little bit, but oh wait, no, just got destroyed. Oh man, I was going to say, it must have been a Huffy or something. We don't normally list out name brands that aren't of the times here on the press, but it looked like a recent bike, and it's now completely destroyed, and that Warden is just forgotten about. I'm sorry. Can't even see him anymore. He's been turned to dust.
Well, a valiant effort, no doubt. I will say that it has been a repeated tactic by both sides, really, in these I call them hallway fights. Hallway fights where it's such a thin bottleneck and it's just 2 bullet hoses just firing at each other. Way back in the earliest of wars, we used to see a condition where engineers would build walls on both sides of the road and create these hallways. Now, obviously, that tactic has subsided, but we're seeing kind of that being recreated in these choke points. Now, getting to my actual point, which is that we see often trucks just charge the front line in a suicidal attempt to distract the opposing side's fire while there is a follow-up. So even though this initial charge is ridiculous, it is the follow-up that counts.
Absolutely, Geoffrey. It's really a tactic that we're giving out information here that's like vital to both sides of this war. If anybody's listening out there really wants to get their tactical, muscles up, then by all means follow these things. If you're going to do a suicidal rush with any vehicle at all and expect not to come back whatsoever, bring a couple men with you that have a couple grenades. Use a couple of different tactics so that when you do make it count, you make it count the most, because it is the follow-up that makes the war effort on your side rather, that much better. If you're going to get ahead, you need to do tactics that the enemy's not using. And not only on top of that, you need to do tactics that are going to make your side win for what you have at the moment. Be resourceful. If you only have so many grenades of so many types, don't send out a bunch of men with them that aren't armed or equipped with the knowledge to know how to use them. Always make sure you have somebody in charge that knows what they're doing and send in the proper ordinances. Anyway, back to you, Geoffrey.
Good advice in terms of ending the opponent's life, but more importantly, saving your own out there on the field. As the fight rages on, you are listening to PressCorps Colonial correspondent Draccos live on the front line as the Colonials attempt to retake the Jade Cove ramp from their position in the lower thirds of Farranac in the region of Farranac Coast. And while that audio is being patched through in the background, we do have news throughout the rest of the regions, or at least the rest of the front line here so far. In the Deadlands, Wardens making another breakthrough and neutralizing the Colonial bunker base they were facing in Mandible Crossroads with multiple FMGs. In Endless Shore, heavily developed bunker lines on both sides across 3 fronts with several FMGs in play, bottlenecked almost to the point of ceasefire. In Godcroft's fighting taking place along the bridge in the Chris Ford, Wardens utilizing bunker defenses while Colonials hold the line with pure infantry. And in Fisherman's Row, Wardens continuing to make a deep dive into the lower half of the region, wrestling for control over a Colonial bunker outside of Arcadia. So while you are listening to the fighting here in Farranac, the war continuing on all throughout the rest of the 37 regions, either through combat, building, or logistics.
And for the record, Geoffrey, I almost died twice during this interview, but luckily, for some good luck of the grace of, Callahan, a couple of medics picked me up and put me to the back lines here and passed me up. So even though I had to be passed up twice, we made it through this interview without me dying, thankfully. And thank goodness for that.
Grace of Callahan or Grace of Morrow? What's your preferred deity?
Oh, I forgot. I don't even know. Both. We'll just go with that.
Both? Okay, you're...
I know there's lore that goes both ways, and I don't want to offend any of our listeners out there that, refer to either or as their god of...
Well, that's fine. No, that's fine. It's... You can be agnostic.
I was just making a lore reference, that's all.
You can be agnostic. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, no, I was just playing on it there. But I am hearing...
No problem.
I am hearing some heightened action, some people trying to organize some kind of... I don't know, what's going on back there in terms of the discussion?
The FMGs are still doing pretty much the same thing they've been doing all day. It looks like these guys have their work cut out for them. It's just they're just going to be here until nighttime, and then even then, it's going to be harder for them because they're going to have more Wardens trying to flank them, and it might give the Colonials a upper hand advantage to be able to maybe take advantage of the nighttime to put up some more defenses around here to help them. But the way the road is open right now between these two, I mean, in terms of World War history, this might as well be the road to Carrollton right now. This is just so crazy. This is absolute chaos. It's wild. There's so many bullets flying. It's hard to describe. 1.0 just released yesterday. Everybody, just so you know, this is intense. It's crazy. Some of our veteran players, even us here at the press, have been waiting for this for a long time. And this is the most hypest, coolest, awesome thing I've seen in a long time. It's awesome to see so many players come in, so many new players, old players, just people coming back from just that didn't even know about the game for a while, that are reinvigorating themselves. And then and it's just awesome. It's awesome. It's just so much great action up here. So back to you, Jeff.
So in terms of, on top of just how big this war is, the all-time peak for simultaneous troops deployed here in the Foxhole War, the previous record was smashed. The previous record being War 70, with 5,680-something troops simultaneously deployed. Here in War 96, that number more than doubled to 11,778 as the all-time high here in the history of the Foxhole Wars, and we are proud to be covering it as the carnage expands exponentially.
Yes, and it's not letting up here, Jeffrey. It's like insane. Like, it's just, there's both sides. Every time somebody dies, another troop reinforces. It's crazy amounts of infantry, crazy amounts of armor trying to work its way up here. Both sides trying to take advantage of any kind of advantage they have in terms of armor, whatever, FMGs, anything they can roll up on the field. Which, it looks like one of them on the Colonial side over here backed off. So the Colonials are taking some heavy heat, but where the hole was created, the infantry is coming in and filling it in, and it's really, it's encouraging to see such spirited troops jump into, the holes in the combat zone here and see, like, oh, we need more men there, we need this there. Like, they're really getting into it, and it's awesome to see.
In many ways active, in many ways very much inactive, as it is static out there, just continuous bullet hoses. It's really a matter of who's going to stop firing first more than anything, from the sounds of it. But Draccos, thank you so much for your reporting out there on the front lines. Surprisingly, not a lot of activity in terms of where it's all spread out. Not a lot of opportunity for flanks, at least by land. It is really
absolutely
just a hallway, a bullet hallway, with at least 6 FMGs firing between each other amongst all 6 of them, and then of course infantry fire.
Not to interrupt you, Jeffrey, but if I could have moved around the flank or gone to a different position that sounded quieter for this interview, I would have done it. But you're literally not wrong. There's just so many bullets flying. It's insane. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That's absolutely accurate. Draccos, thank you so much. PressCorps Colonial correspondent, live from the Jade Cove ramp outside of Jade Cove in the Farranac coast.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thanks to our Foxhole listeners. Hopefully there'll be a lot more of you guys playing the game, and if you ever need advice, just tune in to PressCorps, WPRSS 121.5, Lo-Fi. We'll take care of you guys with a high five. Tune in. I'm out. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Once again, a severe storm advisory in Terminus that we can confirm. Lots of weather data that will likely develop over the course of this entire war. So if you are interested in joining the storm chasers, the PressCorps storm chasers, then make sure to stop by PressCorpsGaming.com/weather and look at the info on the bottom of the page and see if you're interested in doing that. For the PressCorps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings.
The PressCorps is an all-volunteer creative collective of reporters, broadcasters, artists, and more from the MMO video game Foxhole, developed by Siege Camp. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem. The PressCorps was founded in 2018 by former Planetside 2 Radio Free Auraxis host, CaptainInArms. It is a separate community entity and is not officially representative of Siege Camp. For more information, visit our website at PressCorpsGaming.com. That's PressCorps Gaming.com.